do believe we're live on all platforms. Um, Today we're going to be answering the question: does the World Health Organization control the internet? Now, um, personally, the sites I choose to go to regularly to ascertain whatever information I come across, I make sure that they're not controlled by Google. I lost my largest YouTube channel in 2014. Subsequently, after the pandemic, I lost three more channels. Um, so four in total. Been censored relentlessly on sites like TikTok, Facebook, so on and so forth. And yeah, so usually when I counter the stuff that the World Health Organization puts out, and they're always proven wrong. Um, I can provide a few examples. Let's see. Uh, the beginning of the pandemic, one of the first videos I put out, kind of controversial at the time, um, but now it's just pretty much irrefutable how correct I was, especially when it came to just questioning the narrative, where the disease came from. I brought up Event 201. Well, I'll just let you see it because now this will probably get censored on uh, the sites that do the censoring, but I'll play it anyway. Referring to racism. Every disease, everything from China. Everything comes from China. It's disgusting. Bro, you think every disease comes from China? Oh, take a look at Lyme disease, the perfect companion for coronavirus. And not only did it start in America, but it was created by the psychopaths who run the American government. And in all likelihood, coronavirus was created by the government as well. That would explain why the government conducted Event 201, a pandemic preparation exercise, just a few weeks before the coronavirus made its debut. I didn't really. And that was pretty tough pill to swallow for a lot of people. The fact that the government, this isn't their first bioweapon that they've created, and also to divert from attention from the actual source. The fact that they were creating biological weapons labs in China. They said it was racist to say that was a possibility. So you have to accuse the Chinese people of eating bats, and they eat differently. They're disgusting. That's why we saw an uptick in racism. Because the government said it was racist to say that we're funding biological weapons labs in China. We're also doing it in the Ukraine, all kinds of other countries, and it's nothing to do with the race of the people who were infiltrating their country to do this kind of nefarious shit. It's more so the fact that we have Nazis in our government. And I like to acknowledge that because it's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow. Like when we were talking about like the onset of the Ukrainian war, or the Russians' entrance into the war, after we overthrew the Ukrainian government and started slaughtering ethnically Russian people in the Donbass region. I was one of those people like, oh, why are we funding Nazis? And people are like, oh man, you're using Putin's talking point. But I've been called a Putin puppet for nigh on 6-7 years at this point for just questioning the narrative that the Democrats are going to save us from the Republicans. I view the Republicans as one big heap of fuck no, I'm not voting for that. But I was desensitized by the Russiagate. So when people started saying, "Oh, you're using Putin's talking points," when I was pointing out the fact that the Nazis in my government fund the Nazis in the Ukraine government and Nazis all across the world, it's a big Nazi party, right? That's why we're seeing all this death and destruction. We can't get money to help the people dealing with the fires in Maui, We can't get money to help the homelessness crisis or regulate the drugs that are turning people into zombies. We can't do any of that shit. There's no money for that because we have Nazis controlling our government and funding biological weapons labs. And this was something I was just abreast of from the beginning, right? So now, you know, like I kind of understood how my channels were going to be taken down because I was taking a stance against the World Health Organization. Well, you know, as we just go into all this stuff, you know, I was like calling out people like Bill Gates from the beginning. But now it's just like they're removing the coronavirus from the from their internet rules, and they're just saying if you question any World Health Organization doctrine, even though they're constantly lying, they constantly have to take back what they said because they're full of bullshitters, and they're run by corporations. They're run by some of the most evil, uneducated people. Bill Gates never graduated college. He's in charge of our food. He's in charge of our medicine. He's in charge of our education system. The motherfucker who never finished his education. He's in charge of all these fucking structures. And you can't question him. He's the #1 private donor to the World Health Organization. And yeah, if you go against his word, you're taken off the internet. Now, do you think that means that the World Health Organization runs the internet? I don't know.
Actually think he was addressing me until probably about 2 minutes in when I started noticing from my...
But this is the culture he created. Like, this woman was being shouted at by some fat slovenly racist dude just because she's Asian. And the whole point of cooking up these deadly diseases in countries we hate is so that we can direct our hatred towards the country we want to overthrow. Just like while we do our torturing in Cuba, Guantanamo Bay, you know, we get like a little piece of their land. We start torturing our terrorist suspects. Really, where the terrorists our government is, because they're full of Nazis. And then they vilify the country that we do the torturing in. We do the evil shit in. And the people who look like they can come from there, she's not even Chinese, she was being attacked.
Peripheral vision that people looking at me are saying all this.
Okay, China brings everything to our country because we have to import it since we don't make shit here anymore. Thanks a lot, Joe Biden, for fighting for permanent trade relations with China. You rapey bastard. Oh, that's rich. A fat, slovenly dimwit is speaking ill of someone else's diet and hygiene. The irony of that statement is thicker than your midsection. How did you get to a point where you're delusional enough to think that anyone wants to hear you pontificate on subjects that you clearly need help with yourself? This only confirms that you tested positive for stupidity. I mean, have you ever encountered a mirror? Something just doesn't sit right with me when I see disgusting people being disgusted by reasonable people. The world is out of whack when this happens. You look like Chet from Weird Science after he was turned into a walking, talking pile of excrement.
Would you please turn me back to normal, please?
I think someone put a spell on you for being a shitty person. That's how you became a king-size sack of feces. I can smell you with my eyes. It's not pleasant. You need to apologize if there's any hope of you turning back to a normal human.
Sorry for being such a shit to you all these years.
The internet, as sad as this encounter was, of course, California wasn't the only place hit by intolerance. Out on the East Coast, New York is having similar issues.
I'm going to find you. Tell them to move. Tell them to move. Move.
Why are all of these sickly-looking, corpulent numbskulls so concerned about coronavirus? I wish you had the same disdain for the processed foods that robbed you of the ability to see your genitalia that you have for healthy Asian people standing calmly and minding their business. If you're seriously concerned about your health, try avoiding the buffet line. You're way more likely to be taken out by an obesity-related illness than coronavirus since you lack the ability to walk just a few feet into another subway car before espousing your gobbledygook. How about you try exercising something other than bigotry if you want to convince me that you actually care about your well-being? Obviously, America isn't alone with this foolishness. There's been a spike of hate crimes all across Europe. And if this astonishes you, maybe you need to be alerted to the fact that Western societies were built on hate. And you can't war with people and colonize them without hating them. As an American, it can cost over $30,000 to be treated for coronavirus, but we get inoculated in hatred for free of charge. Well, we pay the taxes for it, for the fucked up school system and the war and all the fucked up shit. But it's good to know we're not the only bigots.
Howard moved to London from Thailand 10 years ago, but to the 2 teenagers who mugged him last week and left him with a broken nose.
Based on that apply, and when I was put out on the day, I didn't know the thing yet. I like to start to noticing what was happening, where it was just coronavirus being repeatedly captured at me, and I took my headphones off. No, that was confirmed. He was filming me casting coronavirus at me. Before I got the chance to say anything, another team ran up from behind me and grabbed the headphones from my neck. He didn't run away immediately. And then he looked back at me and he started laughing. He didn't run away.
When the teenager moved out, gave chase in what's thought to be the first reported case of a violent hate crime linked to the coronavirus.
So you know what happened here?
Yeah, so I was around this area and he punched me twice. The first time he missed, the second time he got me right in between the eyes and it hit my glasses. My glasses blew off and my glasses broke my nose as well.
Okay, if someone was genuinely worried about coronavirus, why would they punch a possible carrier in the spot getting their blood and mucus on? That's hella illogical. That makes you...
All right, well, yeah. I'm having technical difficulties. I was trying to get this the sound coming out of here, and now it's just I'm having trouble with the video. But I mean, yeah, more or less. I mean, you know, the World Health Organization, everything they said at the beginning of the pandemic, they did not stand behind. They had to like back away from it because they were bullshitting us the entire time. That's what, you know, they said, like, you get the shot, you won't get the disease, you won't spread it. If you don't get it, you know, you're killing grandma. You're way better off if you just follow their advice. Everything they said. Matter of fact, let's just look into some of what they said. Some of the shit they said was just insane. Like they took people down for saying that you should get you should take vitamin C and turmeric. Like the only solution they had for this disease was a thing that profited them and their donors directly, right? So it's just like you can't mention turmeric, you can't mention vitamin C. I know it might sound like crazy to say out loud, but you have to like see what the fuck they were silencing at the beginning of the pandemic. This was April of 2022 or 2020. The other video was from March. So this is all beginning of the pandemic, right? I had them dead to rights, calling out the Event 201, all the shit that they were preparing for in 2019, right before we have this pandemic that benefits all of their donors quite greatly.
Internet. Now that the pandemic is in full swing and formerly hardworking people have had time off to do their homework and realize how badly they've been... There's been uprisings from coast to coast and across the world. It's been beautiful. People are even protesting without protective gear. So YouTube has devised a plan of action to fight the information that's galvanizing millions of former apolitical people to take to the street. Now let's look at YouTube's soulless CEO on a CNN program hosted by a thick Dr. Robotnik looking to learn what we can expect from the company.
Talk about that. Raising authoritative information.
Does raising authoritative information mean continuing to prop up Fox News, MSNBC, and CNN? The news that people went to the internet to get away from because they lied us into every war? It seems like you're using some pretty shaky logic. I guess we should trust them. Trust the whole pandemic. Did they give us Scout's honor? Let's stop bullshitting. But what else do you have planned for the website?
And we also talk about removing information that is problematic. You know, of course, anything that is unsubstantiated to people saying like take vitamin C, take turmeric, like those all will cure you. Those are the examples of things that would be a violation of our policy.
So I can't recommend vitamin C to boost someone's immunity or turmeric for its anti-inflammatory properties because someone... That sounds a bit silly, but I guess they want people to die thinking that that's a cure. So that's your new rules. If you also throw in the pro-war properties, other countries' leaders have weapons of mass destruction and lead us into illegal wars that kill millions. You also got to throw in the people who lie about the money that we would save by switching to a universal like they have in every other civilized society. Because what if there's a pandemic in America and people can't afford treatment, so they don't even go to the hospital and it spreads quicker? Or what if tens of thousands of people die every year for lack of healthcare when there's not a pandemic going on? And while poor people are dying, health insurers are getting rich and pay authoritative information sources for silence. So there's more money spent on propaganda than helping. But come on, imagine with me. I know war and lack of healthcare might not kill as many people as recommending life expression. Some crazy like that. Let me know there's more.
It's breaking up a little bit. I hope that the message was conveyed. Yeah, because that was just one of the more maddening things. You couldn't mention something that wasn't a deadly experimental medication that benefited the number one donor to the World Health Organization directly. So like they're saying World Health Organization's word is law, and this is Google. Let's not forget. I mean, yes, they were started at the Bill and Melinda Gates, part of the Stanford science computer labs, but it was funded with our tax dollars. This never was like some independent idea, independently funded. It was always government funding that propped Google up. Right? That's why they were able to buy up all these fucking companies. Like Google started off as a search engine. Now they make phones. They bought patents to stuff they didn't create, put like competition out of business. When Google got into the smartphone business, or they didn't even get into it. It was Android got into it. They bought up Android with our money, our tax dollars. Um, then as soon as they get into business, they buy up patents to companies like uh, uh, Motorola. Motorola been around since before Google was even thought of, but now Google had the patents that Motorola created, and they used those patents to put their competition out of business. Right. So Google, by the time they bought Android, we had way more operating systems to choose from. You could choose Linux, you could choose Windows, you could choose Palm, you could choose BlackBerry. Uh, and obviously, Apple came around eventually, and then Android, and then now it's just Apple and Android. Um, Both of them get all these patents from DARPA projects that we fund with our tax dollars. They swoop in, get the patent for it, and then they prevent competition from coming to the market. And now they say that they're a private company, even though all of this shit, they get all this tax money, right? And then they just also just take money directly from billionaires who frequent Jeffrey Epstein's island when he was alive. Now they go to the new Epstein Island, which is they had like a CNN producer, multiple CNN producers, get in trouble for soliciting minors to do illicit things. One of them actually ended up uh, uh, getting some jail time. So these sick motherfuckers, these sick, twisted, disgusting people are in charge of setting the policy what we can't and can't say on the internet.
Here to kick the real evil people off of YouTube. I just recommending vitamin C, which prevents scurvy.
Anything that would go against World Health Organization recommendations would be a violation of our policy.
Okay, so I have to act like every word from the World Health Organization is the gospel to keep this channel from being taken down like my art. You realize that the World Health Organization was just hacked, and it's just a matter of time before they're exposed and you're proven outside. Thank you. Everywhere.
Remove is another really important part of our policy.
Oh shit! I guess I have no choice. And according to who, there is no evidence.
All right, yeah, and that's something else that was like concerning. This is how I knew it was going to happen. I knew my shit was going to get taken down eventually, because it was I was following. It was some people who were saying that they had hacked Bill Gates and several other Epstein Island aficionados. They said that they were going to be exposing them. Then, like within a week of them announcing that, their whole Twitters were taken down. All their social media was taken down. That shit was suspicious as a motherfucker, and it should be just like a red flag for anybody out there. I mean, because there were people who bought into the stuff that they were presenting in the beginning of the pandemic. I thought it was just comically stupid. The first time I talked to someone who actually parroted the talking points from CNN, MSNBC, YouTube, authoritative news sources, I thought that they were joking. Because I'm talking like family. I was catching up with it was a sibling and a cousin. And I thought that they were legitimately joking when they were just like saying this shit. Just quoting off the lines. And eventually I realized that they were serious, but it was just so laughably stupid. Like it just had to be them doing some deadpan comedy routine initially. But eventually, we had like these long heated arguments where it's just like they thought I was crazy. And the biggest issue they had was like, if what you're saying is true, that means our government is evil. We got an evil ass government, and that was like just hard for them to digest. And I guess eventually I won out because they stopped getting the boosters. I had one cousin say he would get like 50,000 boosters if it's required. Then I had you know, he's not up to date on his boosters anymore. And I had another cousin who ended up getting blood clots after like you know just the initial 2 shots, and she had a stroke in her 30s. And one of the first questions was, "Oh, did you get the shot?" And yeah, because that was like a common occurrence, so common it was just like it was the doctor's first question to ask after seeing a 30-year-old come in with blood clots that led to a stroke. Um, but yeah, you know, I like to um, I like to think this time around the censorship is just going to hurt more than anything else. Um, because you know the people who went along with it the first time, they're probably going to be the most vehement detractors now since they got hurt by it the most. You know, like they believed, and then they got the shot, and you know they got some myocarditis or some medical ailment, and then they just realized that they were being lied to, and those probably be the motherfuckers who end up getting violent too. I would assume, because you know the people who were the most um, seemed to be the most prone to violence were the people who were lied to. In my experience, people who believed it, they followed the what the doctors or the news personality said, and they got injured, and now they're just violently against whatever whatever the man says. So it'll be interesting. Uh, I wish that our government wasn't run by people this stupid and greedy. I wish that we could just run into the corporations that run our government like the French did when they went into Black Rock with the pitchforks and torches, and we could just like bring them out, bring them to justice, like all the super billionaires. Like yes, you have $100 billion. That means nothing. Like we're gonna bring you to justice, and then your money is gonna be brought into circulation. We're gonna use like the $300 billion that certain individuals have to end homelessness. You know, fix the lead in our water and all the other deadly chemicals. Like raise our standard of living. You know, I would like to think that that's just the common sense thing that most people want to do. Um, yeah, so it's just a matter of time before we just get together and get it done. That's why I've been like getting caught up. I got like one more chapter of Elaine Brown's book, The Black Panther. I was able to be blessed enough to run into. Um, and you know, like it was definitely a tumultuous time. With the Panthers, because they had been infiltrated by CIA, FBI, all that stuff, and they had like some inner quarrels. However, I was also reading a book prior to this about May Day 1971. It was the America's largest civil disobedience event so far. I like to say so far because I think we're building up to something else, but it was a lot of parallels because they had other civil disobedient events leading up to the May Day. All of them were shot on by the news. They were like, oh, these crooks, these hippies, these like they tarnish all of the people who participate in democracy with all these labels meant to divide. But that still didn't stop the people from coming together for May Day. I mean, yes, you could argue since that was the largest civil disobedience event, it obviously started to deteriorate after that. Um, but that's when after like the Powell memo, where they started talking about how to divide and conquer, how to control our media, education system, all this stuff. Um, but now it's just like I think like people are ready um, for the massive change that we require. That's why it's like a song that it ended up just rising to the top because of the message. It's Richmond, Richmond. It's like all kinds of reaction videos, all kinds of stuff in my feed just talking about this particular song because he's just acknowledging that there's puppet masters pulling strings, controlling everything, every facet of our day-to-day life, and people are sick of it. And if you came across Revolution the musical, it was a musical I had to make after being kicked off the internet. I had like just a similar message I wanted to get out. I had like a scene from it. It was censored because the theater that I was letting it be used in was funded by the same people who I mentioned in this video. Bill Gates, he funds every theater out here. And so it's like, it's hard to get into anything that paints him in a negative light because that will affect funding. And there's like a lot of people who are afraid to do that. But I think art is supposed to be subversive. It's supposed to make us reevaluate our society, especially if you live in America. You're supposed to be like, see something powerful. You like look at society different. Like maybe this isn't optimal human civilization. This is like maybe we're run by like some crooks, and maybe we need to do something about it, especially a theater, because it has the ability to be local. So you could like organize motivated people, motivated theater goers. After they watch something, you can get them involved politically to change something about local governance. But that's why people like Bill Gates buy theaters, so no one does anything. They want you to think he's a good guy. He's a philanthropist. He's a child philanthropist because he loves giving it to the kids. Ask anybody who went to Epstein Island. That's exactly why they say art imitates life, or life imitates art. I like when you used to be on YouTube with movie reviews. Content was funny. I like the faculty review. Well, you know what? You can always go to NatesVlogs.net. This video, maybe you came in towards the end. This is kind of explaining why I had to get away from certain things. I used to have a lot more employee evaluations, rewinds, but it became harder to do that because there's certain topics that they prevent me from being able to discuss. Like one of my last rewinds. Matter of fact, it wasn't even the rewind that got my channel shut down. I got a strike on one of my YouTube channels. One of the strikes that got the whole kit and caboodle taken down was me talking about just providing the synopsis for the movie World War Z, right? A movie that came out in 2014, but it was it was zombies, and it was dealing with the World Health Organization. They ended up like figuring out how to deal with the zombies issue by creating a vaccine that puts you on death's door. So they knowingly pushed out a vaccine that was that would almost kill you, to save you. I just thought that was kind of ironic. And me just mentioning it on a live stream got me a strike, which eventually led to my whole channel getting taken down. One of 3 channels being taken down. So, yeah. So I don't do that kind of content over here. Because right now, one of the sites I'm streaming on is YouTube. one of the sites that, I mean, Facebook, they also censor. Instagram is a subsidiary of Facebook. But yeah, I'm on all these censoring websites, so that's kind of what it's just more difficult for me to do that kind of stuff on a live stream. But NatesVlogs.net, you can find rewinds, employee evaluations. Just uploaded some new rewinds, some old rewinds, um, new shirt designs, radical rags. I'm like, I gotta figure out how to get this one up there. I got to get like a regular vendor for like polo shirts, but yeah, to see the Malcolm X with the X under it. But yeah, NatesVlogs.net for all that stuff. But yeah, it's just yeah, I don't do the live streams are more so to let you guys know. Go there and also just discuss some of the stuff like this. This new concern of the World Health Organization that allows them to just shut down any dissent. Uh, yeah, it should be concerning for all of us. And I'm especially worried about it because, I mean, as soon as I know I can't say something, that's the only thing I want to say. Can you live stream on NatesVlogs.net? Kinda. I could live stream and post it, like post the link. I mean, it might be. I would have to actually go into the the underbelly of my website. It might be a way for me to do it. It's like only several things I use on my website for. I use the shop site part of it, and then I use like the HTML to embed stuff. It might be like a way for me to do a live stream, but it's like all kinds of stuff I would have to pay extra for. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just where is it? Rumble.com/NatesVlogs. That's got usually the best angle for a live stream. I just can't read what the comments are until afterwards. It's frustrating, but you know, it's one of those things. That's the problem. The overwhelming majority of humans are this greedy. So it doesn't matter who you replace our government with, it will just be the same thing all over again. But see, here's the thing. I don't think the people are that greedy. I don't think the overwhelming majority of people are that greedy. I think the people who gravitate towards these systems are that greedy. I think we need to be trained to just like hate corporations, because right now the issue is it's corporations versus not just humanity, all life on this planet, right? So you know, like yes, they have ways of intoxicating people, like you know, like yes, we're putting the whole world on the Titanic, but you get first class tickets. But you know, and we need to like that intoxicates people because like you know they like having that power over anybody. We need to uh, have leadership that doesn't want that kind of power over anyone, you know. But that's harder to create. I think we need to have incentive structures that protect us. So, you know, like right now, it's legal to lobby a politician, right? And it's people with BlackRock who brag about buying senators for $10,000, and these are billionaires. 10,000 is nothing. That's like a fraction of the interest they make on the billions of dollars that they already have. Right? So we need to have like some way of just like you know, if you get a bribe to do something, you know, to be silent about poisoning water or actively poison our water, we need to have like a system that rewards you, doubles your money, your bribe, for you to speak out, for you to like, you know, and we also need to make it illegal for non-disclosure agreements. NDA is just a way for predators to cover up their predatory behavior. So you're either a sexual predator, you did some gross shit, and then you paid to silence someone. You also had the option of a hitman, so you can have a Jeffrey Epstein style suicide, or if it's not like a sexual deviant, preying on subordinates, is someone poisoning our water, like preventing technology from coming to the masses that could put entire industries out of business, like a car that runs on water. That should exist, right? Like we got uh, rovers on Mars that take the hydrogen out of water and they use that as a power source, right? Why don't we use that here? Why don't we have like cars that run on the pollution in our water, right? We would be able to put out two umpteen $1 billion industries, the oil industries and bottled water, but we don't do that precisely because we would be putting out those mega industries and the billionaires who control our government, right? And that's also like we need to look to other countries like Russia, Venezuela. They're vilified in our media to no end for multiple reasons. One of the major reasons is they're nationally owned their energy companies. So like the people of those nations own their energy. You would think that that's how we run because we go to wars for oil, but it's like the all of the profits go into the hands of a few, all of um, the penalties go into the hands of the many. So it's like, yeah, a small group of people profit from the system while we all pay the externalities of it. Uh, can you live stream on Netflix.net? Yes, lobbying should be illegal. Cut down the corruption as much as possible. Yes, it should be extremely illegal. Anybody who has a lobbyist should be investigated. All of their non-disclosure agreements should be made moot, be made public, and they should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law if they're guilty of fascism. So if they have a lobbyist, they use the lobbyist to go to a politician, get $1 billion from the Pentagon, CIA, one of these contracts, no big contracts, any of that shit. While they already have more money than they could ever spend, they should be just doing hard time. We don't have a actual justice system because we don't have any actual billionaires in prison. Billionaires are the only people who could be war criminals, right? We got like low level drug addicts, people stole some food to feed their family, but we don't have like war criminals. We got a Hague Invasion Act to protect war criminals. We need to repeal all that shit. We need to like punish the actual bad people, the actual evil, and give a break to the people who are just struggling. If someone stole some bread to feed their family, I'm prepared to be more lenient with them than, let's say, a Bill Gates who never finished college, is in charge of our food system, in charge of our medicine, in charge of our education system. And whenever he gets in charge of this shit, everything gets worse, but he makes more money, right? It's just, none of this shit adds up. We definitely need to punish the evil. And I'm just surprised more people aren't trying to start parties that acknowledge that needs to be done. That's why it's like I'm looking forward to conversing with Shama Suwan because she's supposed to be starting like a third party, like a national movement. I think she's getting away from the DSA because DSA is totally corrupt. I organized with them a few years ago. before the pandemic. Then after the pandemic hit, they started requiring you to show your papers to just show up and organize, to just like, talk about government overreach, or some of the stuff that we need to uh, um, accomplish. And I think one of the things we should have been addressing was the overreach in people requiring vaccination papers, but they just bought into that entirely, because it is one of those organizations that was co-opted by corporate money. And I like to hope that Shama Sawant is getting away from that organization, because she sees what happens to it. But to this day, I still haven't heard her just come out and plainly say that we need to get corporations completely out of our government. We get away from funding them. Period. With no tax dollars can go to a corporation. All the corporate welfare should be reserved for worker-owned co-ops exclusively. That's how we can see a more vibrant local economy, less homelessness. Corporations shouldn't be able to own property. That should be illegal. I mean, it's common sense shit. No one is saying it. I like to get her on record saying it. That's the only thing that could actually make me want to invest in seeing her party do well. Until that, it's just like I got the bad taste of the DSA in my mouth. Yes, I could easily forgive someone for stealing bread, cigarettes, booze, Gucci handbags, not so much, LOL. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like I was at this event, Emoja event, and someone was saying how they had porch pirates steal their shit. And I was like, man, that just rubs me the wrong way. Why would you steal from the person? Do not do that. Like, I would never steal from a person. If you're thinking of stealing from me, just tell me it's something you need. I'll come together with you, and we could rob a corporation. Corporations been robbing us. I'll provide you some cover. I'll distract the security guard at Walmart or Target or wherever you need to steal your shit, and you can steal from them instead of me or someone else in your community. Do not steal from humans. It's humans versus the corporations. Which side are you on? If you're against the humans, you're just as bad as the corporation. But if you steal whatever the fuck you want from a corporation, my girl, she's not as open to it as me. She's like, oh, they were stealing from Bed Bath and Beyond. I was like, good. I hope they still. I don't think they stole enough, because the dude who runs Bed Bath and Beyond, Les Wexner, a big fan of Jeffrey Epstein, gave Epstein a house. He's in charge. He owns a bunch of other companies. He also sexually assaulted Jessica Alba. Wasn't the biggest fan of Jessica Alba. I heard she was her career was destroyed by the dude. I started to feel a little sympathy for her. But yeah, don't steal from your people. Steal from corporations. Even if it's a Gucci handbag, as long as you steal it from Gucci directly, have at it. I don't give a shit. Just make sure it's a corporation you're robbing. What up, Nate? Nada mucho. About just finishing up. I will be going live again. Just want to touch bases with y'all and just go over some of this shit. This shit is just it's frustrating me to no end to see it happen. Don't let these fucking evil corporations censor us. They're the ones who need to be censored. They're the ones who need to be locked up. The people running this shit don't give a fuck about you. They're constantly wrong, right? Just go back to the beginning. Because I'm watching this. This is over at Odyssey, so I still gotta re-upload some of this shit. But everything I said at the beginning of the pandemic pretty much came true. It just came to light. It was crazy to say that the government might have played a hand in developing certain diseases. Then biological weapons labs started being acknowledged. They started acknowledging gain of function research. I was just looking at it more historically because this is not our first biological weapon that we created that went rogue, or maybe it went as intentioned. But we're run by psychopaths. Is the moral of the story. And the ultimate psychopathic body is the corporation. Does not care about your humanity. It cares about profit. Profit is the most important thing, right? We are not as greedy as the people who run the corporations, but I don't think everybody who runs a corporation is a psychopath, but I do think it's a psychopathic structure, and it creates a lot of sociopaths who adapt to the psychopathy. And to overthrow this shit, we need to have like protections, like not being able to give them umpteen $billion no bid contracts. Start to tax them. I mean, if you're born in America and you have no freedom of speech, you're not an American. That's like the only thing we have. We don't have a right to a house. We don't have a right to anything tangible except freedom of speech. We're supposed to be able to say whatever, right? When a corporation can shut you down, that means they're the real Americans, and they're the only ones who need to be paying taxes. Instead of taking our taxes, they should be taxed out of business. Tax them until they have no more power than any human. The human should be elevated above corporations, and that means corporations have to be taken down because right now these motherfuckers are more powerful than our government. So whatever you feel, whatever you want to see, even if it's you and your entire community, you and the rest of the nation you live in, corporations' power supersedes that at this moment. The corporation was a creation of colonial powers to maintain dominance, even in the face of popular opinion obstructing it. So, the World Health Organization, they want to supersede your government, and so far they're doing a damn good job at it. Because they got Google as their little bitch, and Google is your government. They were started with your government's funding. But they're run by the deep state, the Nazis and the CIA, FBI, all that shit. So yeah, just be forewarned. Make as much noise. I got like more stuff dealing with this. We'll probably touch bases again tomorrow on this subject. But yeah, I will be back tomorrow, 5-ish. I just hope to find something more rosy to counterbalance this. But yeah, this is it's time to make some noise. This shit it can no longer stand because now it's just like it's not just coronavirus. Anything you say that counters World Health Organization can get you silenced. So fuck that shit. Fuck all the noise, and fuck all these censoring ass websites. NatesVlogs.net. That's where you can go for new rewinds, new employee evaluations. Also got Rumble.com. And the videos I was just showing you, they're on Odyssey.com / @NatesFlix. Say NatesVlogs.net. So I started uploading some older stuff, but also got some newer stuff. So feel free to check all that out. Spawn Rewind, Terminator 2 Rewind, Swordfish Rewind, all the good stuff. Glad I caught you live. Later. Peace, Nate. Everybody else too. Peace. I'm glad you caught me live as well. Toodles.